Welcome back to the Blissful Badger. A while back, I decided I really wanted to have a rank and flank tabletop game, and figured that Chaos Dwarves would be a very cool way to do so. I wanted them to be something that I could use in multiple different game systems, notably Old World and Kings of War and possibly Warhammer Renaissance or individual models for more time or whatever I decided to play at some point in the future. I wanted something that was not the everyday army, and I wanted to go with models that worked well together aesthetically, and I didn't really care so much about whether or not they were Games Workshop because the game was meant, this army was meant to be whichever game system piqued my interest. So I decided I really liked the look of the Kings of War Abyssal Dwarves, and so I bought 3 of these boxes, the Ambush starter set, to start building. Along with that, I also found the normal dwarf Kings of War models had Brock Riders, which are just giant badgers. And so I realized I had to add some of those to the army. And while I was building the first bunch of Abyssal Dwarves, we decided that I was doing it on a stream. We decided that I have the Order of the the Order of the Raven Crab to go along with the Order of the Crab Raven. So because of that, I also purchased some very large Raven models so that I can make some Demon Princes in the future. I also picked up the Dwarf Army set as well as the Abyssal Dwarf set so that I have a few different weapon options and sculpts. So, we are 20 hours in on this project so far, and I have a decent number already built. The Dwarf Army box came with quite a few models. And it's supposed to allow me to build one of these interesting cannons or multi-barrel items. A dwarf leader, 30 one-handed with shield dwarves, 20 ranged dwarfs. They have crossbows or rifles. I went with the rifles. I want a more sharpshooter look. And then 20 two-handed weapons. If you see, the leader doesn't right there, but whatever. 20 of those. And they have different sprues. I've already started working on the Ironclad troop, the Ironclad command sprue, the um, the Iron Belcher and crew, I have not built the resin leader yet. And then there are quite a few Iron Watch and shield breakers. So the shield breakers are the two-handed hammers, and most of these are already built. The Iron Watch, I still have several to build. I did get this kit after I got the Abyssals, so I still have a little ways to go to building all of these guys. There are 3 regular bodies. I should say that these are 15-year-old sprues, so there are some limitations to these. These 2 bodies right here are the same across all of the other kits, so you get a lot of cloak or no cloak options. And then these 3 are the same as on the regular troop, so you get a lot of a similar pose, and there are only 2 different head options, except for the command helm. So there are several ways to build them, but they look very similar overall. Which, I mean, for a 15-year-old sprue, that makes sense. Same goes for the different torsos and arms. There's only a certain number of ways that these can go together. So, over the course of, say, 2 of these army boxes, I don't think I'm going to have very many truly unique models. So, I have 1 army box so far. I think I will add 1 extra, because in an army of about 500 dwarves, it's okay to have about 150 being out of these 2, out of this particular look. This allows me to build 2 unique variants of Iron Watch, and technically 4 different body styles. So I can use the cloak and the guy without a head body, and the cloak with the guy with a head body, and then the opposite without cloak. And I guess I could technically use 2 different heads, so there's like 5, 6 different options here. So it's not too varied, but across all of these models, I have, spin this around so it's easier to see, I have built these so far. And of course the Brock Rider is a separate kit. But so far, I have built 12 of the shield breakers. And you can see some duplication in poses, but I've tried my hardest to position them slightly different across these guys. I think it'll be okay as a single unit or 2 units. There's enough variation there. It is better than the single model kit that you can only build these this way, because the weapon, shield, and body is all one piece. You pretty much just glue the cloak or the no cloak to it. And that is the only change that you can do with these. They are pretty much monopose. The other guys with the hammers, that is an arm that you can decide to put on another one that has the shield already there. So, it's the reason why these ones are already built, because there are no other options for them. And then, for the Iron Watch, again, you can kind of see I have two different overall body styles. You either have it aiming or at a low ready. So I have 10 of those built so far. I should be able to build another 10. And the cool news is the crossbow option can be built with the stock and bolt pulled back, and store them in other locations. So the weapon option that you don't use out of these two can have the little stock and be used as a decorative piece later on. So that's cool. The kit also allows you to have throwing pugs. So I have built 3 of them so far, because I think a unit of throwing pugs would be really fun. It's something unique. And I tried doing a different hold there. I don't really think it looks great. I think if the head was aimed left instead, it would be a little bit better. The overbalancing there is a little bit weird. But I am looking forward to a full squad of throwing pugs, just as a fun little unit. Then I've also built 2 musicians. So I took 2 of the models that have a fairly, they're all fairly basic poses here. Let's see if I can get them a little bit taller up. So I made one carrying it in one hand and one carrying in the other. And then I've done one banner so far. The Kings of War Abyssal Dwarf Ambush Starter Set comes with 4 identical sets of sprue, and this has quite a few options on it. Alright. So, there is Abyssal Dwarf Infantry Sprue 2 and Sprue 1. And this has quite a few different options. Sprue 1 has 13 different heads and plenty of melee and ranged options, mostly melee on this one. But it does have the reloading arms for the ranged. And then there are also different shields available. And the set also gives you 2 Chaos Hounds. So What's great is you get 2 sets of each arm, and some are left-handed and some are right-handed. Same with the shields. Some are left and some are right. All of the heads are usable on all of the bodies. Let me see if I can get this. Gonna be a little bit darker, but get a better angle at least. So there's a decent assortment of heads here. And then the second sprue has 10 different bodies. Well, it has 5 different bodies twice. So you have several different options. It has more weapons and shields. And then it has 4 different sets of ranged weapons. Some left and some right. So, these 2 sprues together give you 12 different models because of the doggos. And I've taken and built this so far. So, there are only 2 ways to build the doggos. So you do get some repetition, but they're not counted as part of the models in the box. So it's a nice little addition to the army. Hopefully those mold lines will go away once I've primed them. Shouldn't be that, yeah. So I'm looking forward to having a unit of Chaos Hounds. I've built a nice big block or 2 of ranged weapons so far. Again, this is a nice variety of different weapons and poses and heads. You can absolutely tell that this is a newer kit than the Dwarf kit. And then I've built a decent unit of sword and board, or axe and board, whatever. One-handed weapons with shields. Again, the heads and the bodies all miscellaneous together quite well, so it doesn't look like it's all the same sculpt. And I have 30 of those built already. And then I've built 20 so far with 2 weapons each, because we have that freedom for left and right-handed options. And this is going to be used as my Black Orcs squads, because they can take 2 weapons. And that's actually why the Order of the Raven Crab came about compared to the Order of the Crab Raven, because they are ORC. So I'm going to paint these primarily black with some red, whereas the rest of them are going to be painted red primarily with a little bit of black. At least that's the idea at the moment. The Brock Rider box has options to build 2 different designs, and I'm sure there are some upgrades or modifications that I can make because it does not actually include the musician and banner. And they are also PVC, so they are a little bit harder to build, and that's okay because I still get to build giant badgers in this army. So I think I have to run them as hobgoblins as far as Old World goes, but I'm not that worried about it right now. I just need to build more of them. But having giant badger mounts for my dwarves to have for having mounted options is absolutely a cool thing. So I am looking forward to painting these up and adding them to the army. I have built 1 out of the 20 I have so far, and I definitely want to add another couple of boxes. So there you have it. This is 20 hours in on the Chaos Dwarf army. I have over 100 of these guys built so far, which feels great, and I have plenty more to go before this army is anywhere near done. I am looking to get a couple more boxes of the Abyssal Dwarf ambush starters. I'm looking forward to getting another of the Dwarf army set so that I have more of the 2-handed hammers and some more of the ranged dudes. I'm going to get at least 2 more boxes of the Brock Riders because having at least 40 of them sounds like a great idea. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this will go in the future. My goal is to have another update at about the 40-hour mark and maybe have some of these guys actually painted at that point. That way I can test out the color schemes before going into all of the army, which, based on my estimates, is probably going to be about 500 models. I have a couple of special models that I want to add to this, but for now, this is where we're at. Can you think of anything I need to add to this army? I mean, I still have some demon princes to convert up, and a couple of cannons, and just continue to build all the things that I already have. Subscribe if you haven't, so that you don't miss any future videos. I also want to thank my patrons and supporters for making these videos possible. And until next time, I hope you find your bit of bliss.